My name is Helle, and this is Viggo, and we're working for Posten. We're consultants, both of us, but we've been with Posten for quite a few years. I think you're 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I've been there for about 6, a little bit on and off. Just got back from maternity leave, so yeah, trying to get up to speed with what you guys have been up to while I've been away. So for this presentation, 2 brands, 1 platform, shared design and unified framework for Posten and Bring. Sounds a bit pretentious, maybe. But what we want to talk about is how the 2 brands, Posten and Bring, leverage a common design system, but also the same platform, being Enonic. But we'll also touch upon a couple of the challenges that we met working with these 2 brands, I guess you can call them, that are very similar, but in a way very different too. One is green, one is red. Usually that's an okay and a no okay color. So that creates a couple of challenges. Posten Bring, I guess most of you are familiar with us. You have maybe sent some letters, ordered stuff online, get it delivered home. It used to be a governmental-owned company, but now it's private. And it's a lot bigger than what I thought it was when I started working there, that's for sure. Posten and Bring are, as I said, 2 brands, but they operate under the same, I guess, parent company, which is now called Posten Bring AS. It used to be called Posten Norge, which was a little bit confusing because what's the difference between Posten and Posten Norge? And that was also red, the same color as Posten. So now they decided that Posten Bring is the new way forward to make sure that everyone can understand and see that it actually umbrellas both Posten and Bring. Posten primarily handles traditional postal services across Norway, delivering letters, small packages, etc. While Bring is focusing more on the parcel delivery, freight solutions, supply chain management, and across the Nordics and Europe, for that matter. And it also supports online retailers with integrated solutions, such as delivery management, warehousing, and return handling. Some of you have maybe been to some of our websites. This is Posten as is today. Very red, as you can see. Bring.no is very similar, just the green colors, but you can see the navbar and the boxes, and so the setup is very similar, just a different font and different colors. And now we suddenly have Posten Bring, which is the 2 of them united, so both the green and the red, which creates a couple of challenges when it comes to our design system, but also how we made our applications in Enonic, which we'll get back to in a little bit. So this is a list of the sites that we're currently running on Enonic, including a couple that is on their way to run on Enonic, which is Digipost. So most of them are the greener sites, bring in a lot of countries like Sweden, Denmark, Poland, Finland, Netherlands, etc., etc. And then Posten Bring, which is the core brand site. But then we also have sites that looks like they're us, and I guess they are Posten, but this, which is the tracking page, is actually a different application, so it's not running on Enonic. However, it's using the same navbar and the same footer, meaning that when we do updates to the content in the navbar in Enonic, we want that changes to be transpiled to other apps in Posten, so that they don't have to manually go and change the content of the menu every time some editor decides that, we need another bullet point in this menu. we'll get into a bit more details regarding that, but that's one of our challenges. So the two brands, multiple sites and the co-brand, all creates a couple of things that are maybe a little bit difficult to handle. We have one design system that needs to cater for variations of the same brand, the green and the red, and now the green-red. We'll get into a little bit more details with that later on too. There's a lot of common and uncommon, or not common, features that are used by these different sites. And we want to make sure that we divide features and functionality into apps that make sense, so that we don't make massive apps catering for lots of needs that are maybe not used by all sites, but two of them. I guess we're coming into a couple of examples of that later on.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the last point, by the way, the other apps using our stuff, which has been quite a challenge, I guess, since you started 10 years ago. There were already quite a few dependencies, which means that every time we are deploying a new feature to production, we need to make sure that we're not breaking stuff for, what is it, 5 other teams?
I think it's more, but yes.
Yeah. So, but we'll start a bit from the top down with our design system that's called Hedwig. This is to ensure our brand consistency and make sure that, I guess, Posten and Bring's identity is recognizable and cohesive across different formats, platforms, variations, etc., etc. This used to have 2 themes. Is that your phone?
No.
Yeah. I used to have 2 themes, but now in a way we have the third one with the co-brand that was introduced, as mentioned earlier. So these are actually examples of our cards, one of our components. Our Hedwig design system is a collection of components, guidelines, patterns that are used by our team, but also by the other teams working at Posten. If we'll disregard all the Figma sketches and that part of it, our team is responsible for the technical aspects around it. So we've created a React library, which we then incorporate into our Enonic Apps. These components are written in React, and they align with the design systems guidelines, and they also ensure that we have accessibility features. We also have a CSS package. So these are actually the 3 ones on the right here are actually a description of the 3 packages we have within our design system. The React components, we have one CSS package and one design tokens package. And they are actually using each other. So the CSS is using the design tokens, which are just reusable variables that are defined, spacing, fonts, colors, etc., etc. That's used by the CSS package, which contains space styles, utility classes, component styles, and that's also where the theme support lies. And that again is used by our React components. So you can actually utilize Hedwig without using React, even though most of the teams prefer React. It is possible to use our components only using styling, and even just creating your own styling, but using our design tokens, which is actually what we're looking to do with the co-brand these days. having the design tokens package means that we can utilize all these values without choosing a theme, which you had to do earlier. Now you can use the tokens, and hence you can mix up the green and the red colors and the different fonts, etc. Something that used to be a big no-no for the company. But now you can actually do that. Let's see, I think we're moving into your stuff now. This is a very quick overview of our design system. And as I mentioned earlier, we utilized it in our Enonic Apps. Viggo is going to talk a little bit more about that very shortly. I guess the main challenge when we move into the Enonic Apps is how all these different sites have a lot of common functionality or features, and then it has some individual features. And how can we, I guess, create our apps in a way that makes sense so that we don't add on lots of functionality to the sites that are rather simple and don't need all the stuff that, for instance, Bring SA is one of our biggest sites. And it has a lot more features than what Bring PL, which is Poland, which is, I don't know, 3 pages, something like that. So.
All right, I'm going to talk a bit about our different Enonic apps and various things around that. So we started out in Enonic CMS, as Fjordland did a long time ago, and we merged to Enonic XP 6 and then 7. And along the way, we made these apps, App Bring and App Posten was the first apps we made. Then we made the libcommon, which has some common features like Helle talked about. Like articles would be common for both type of sites. We tried to make a lib with React4XP common things, but this was not possible due to a Gradle build problem. So we had to make a separate React app for that.
One. It's a pretty messy sketch, but that's on purpose because we wanted to show how complex it gets when you have that many sites that are using the same apps and the same features. And as you probably noticed, we cut out most of the sites there, and even now it looks very complicated. So there's a long, I guess there's a lot of ducks that needs to get in line for us to deploy to production. Having like 10 sites depending on the same app, every time we deploy is a little bit like, all right, let's hope we don't break anything this time.
Yeah, also forgot the app map. It's a separate React app, and the app forms is basically a fork of the Enonic Forms app, which is used on a few sites, Scandinavian sites. Yeah, all the apps are also built in different times, so it's using different technologies. This is kind of a struggle for us. Started out with vanilla Enonic starter, and then eventually TSUp starter for the later apps, which means for our developers it's a lot to think about when they're working on different apps for us. Yes. So how do we get the design system and Enonic to mix or to work together? We have something called a decorator. This is for us a common header, a menu, and footer for all the applications inside Enonic and outside Enonic. It was traditionally served from Enonic, as Hedwig mentioned, and this is causing a lot of struggle for us. So lately we made a separate decorator application in Node, just for offloading Enonic and our dependencies, really.
It's still getting the data from Enonic.
Yes, it's getting the data from Enonic. So we created an Enonic service to serve the header and footer data, menu data. This is still a work in progress. So this is not automatically updated at the moment. But we mean to have some hooks to make that automatically. The decorator structure is like this. It's an HTML document structured with different sections that the consuming app can structure as they like. This contains everything needed to show menu, footer, chatbot, so on, and all the contents from the menu and footer in Enonic. So what did you want to show here?
Yeah, so this is actually yet another one of the apps that Posten has that is not ours. So this is not running in Enonic. However, it does have our new decorator. So the navbar and also the footer. Scroll. Oh.
We're supposed to be technicians.
We work with this every day. Yeah, so this is getting the data from Enonic and installing from our design systems and putting it together and being used by this app called sendingposten.no. So for instance, the menu, all of this content, if we went into Enonic and changed this menu now, it would be reflected here next time they build, I think. Also, the search will actually take you back into Enonic. If I can spell pumpkin, for instance. Then it's moved back into Posten.no and to the search results here. So it makes us it makes it possible for the other teams to not have to worry about what the content in the navbar and the footer should be, because that's all created by our editors, which is very helpful because with the 14 something different sites, there will be a lot of menus that would have to be updated in some way to have the same content. I think we might be a little bit over.
Other question?
Yeah, just small question. Are those the header and the footer? Are those two small React apps then, or is?
Oh, it's I'm going to show it here. So this is decorator post nano. This is our decorator, which this previous app was fetching its stuff from, and it's not my computer, so everything is okay. So here we see the same structure as I showed you earlier with the styles, header, etc., etc. And the scripts here, maybe not this one. Yeah, here is the React scripts for running the menu and other things. And yes, so these different sections are easy to structure for the consuming. Oh, I said that. Yeah.
So it's basically using the React components from the design system. And so this is a separate app using those components, but fetching the data from Enonic. Is there any other questions?
How do you fetch the data? They are using Guillotine or?
We created a separate service in Enonic
Yeah.
for fetching those data.
Perfect.
So we considered also using Guillotine, but this was suddenly made a service instead.
So that's ideal because then you can control exactly what you serve and control the flow of everything.
So I can also add a few things here. We were developing paints with trying to have the modular structure of several apps, and you're not the first. We also have some sites on React4XP, so we had to fix it for ourselves too. We've done a complete revamp of the entire integration, and now it's actually a more conventional way of doing it. So you can actually have a conventional React app included, right? Which means that you can separate, let's say, the content type definitions in an XP app, and then have the regular React app. You can use the NPM libraries as always in a conventional way. So now, hopefully, you guys will have a bit more convenient way of doing it. And yes, and the build is at least 10 times faster. So this is also something that I know a lot of developers struggle with when it comes to React4XP. Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, that's React4XP 6.
Yeah, that's the next version which we are wrapping up now.
Yes, looking forward to that.